'Cause it's just loose lips. I chat better than I sing, so go ahead and enjoy.
How would you rate this season as an Arsenal fan? Because I personally think it is the craziest season ever, on and off the pitch. Like it's beyond a soap opera.
Yeah, it's a joke, man. Like, you're talking about how would I rate this season? Look at the teams that are ahead of us in the league. It's mad
What
to
do you
think
put it
that.
down to? Because I like you last season was feeling Emery, and then
Mm,
he just it seemed like he got in his own head, trying
yeah,
to I don't know show that he was a master mover of positions, like playing Torreira in a number 10
yeah,
and just getting
yeah,
it so wrong.
yeah. I almost feel like, we all love those stories, right? When, like, for example, it's stuff of legend how Henry was converted by Wenger from a left winger to a striker. It's almost like by doing sometimes you can do too much, and when it works you're a genius, but when it doesn't work everyone's just screaming saying just flipping keep it simple, it's so obvious.
But would you also add to that, though, that when you look at and I know it was just an example, but when you look at the physique and the pace and the qualities that Henry had, you could see why he was putting him up top. But Torreira has never posed anything that looks anything remotely like a number 10.
No, I can understand the logic as well of the Torreira thing, but let's not forget when Henri was doing his thing, people weren't for it. They were kind of thinking like, this is the English Premier League, back to goal, target man, all of that stuff. And people didn't believe in the project at first, especially because it didn't yield results straight away. But with Torreira, I can totally understand what Emery is thinking. I just don't think that it plays to his strengths
What
enough.
was he thinking? Because I hadn't
So
got a clue.
yeah, so for me, is if you think about it, like the best place to win the ball is in your opposition's third. And Torreira, statistically, he's incredible at that. For me, second best DM in the Premier League, other than N'Golo Kante, because of his ability to tackle without giving away fouls and his ability to intercept and that sort of thing is very very good at winning the ball. He doesn't do much with it afterwards, but if he can win the ball there, and you get the opposition running back towards their own goal, and when you're close or in their final third, at this level of football, you're very very likely to get yourself in a position where you either score a goal or create a really really good chance. And I feel like when Torreira's doing that work further, closer to his own goal, it's obviously still really useful, but it doesn't result in that goal scoring opportunity that it does when you win the ball higher up. And then with Granit Xhaka as the other kind of player in the middle, he's got such a good because this is the thing about football, it's all about combinations. You can't just look at one player and say, oh yeah, he's good at this, so this is why you're doing it. It's how you complement the whole team and the other players. And with Granit Xhaka, he's got such a good range of pass. Don't get me wrong, I know he's like quite a divisive figure. He can't do it on both feet. He doesn't do it quickly, like Cazorla, for example. But he has got a wand of a left foot, and you can put it, perfectly on the pitch anywhere he wants when he has time on that left foot. So him playing that quarterback role further down the pitch, just bring those counter attacks, and Torreira doing the job, winning it further up, absolutely brilliant. But then the problem with all of that was, in theory, it's fine, but in reality, Torreira is a much better DM than Xhaka was, and we faced way, way too many shots. Xhaka doesn't have that agility, doesn't have that defensive brain to try and get in the way, intercept, and break up play. And as a result of that, I just felt that we ended up conceding way too many shots. And if you're conceding too many shots, naturally you're going to concede a proportionately higher number of goals. So that was a thinking that I thought, because whenever a manager does something like a weird sub or a weird transfer, I think to myself, right, look, we all think we know it all as football fans, but they're not idiots. They obviously had a thought process. And I just try and understand that thought process. And that's what I came down to with this one. And Sarri did it as well at Chelsea. He tried to play Kante higher up and Jorginho further back, because Jorginho is a master passer of the ball. And again, I just thought, well, look, if it's not an absolute specialist DM, then fine, maybe you've got the ability to go and do that. But when these players like Kante and Torreira, they're so good at what they do, just don't
Yeah.
change it, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And Funny you bring up Xhaka.
Does that make sense to you though, in terms of what he might have been thinking, or do you think it's just nonsense?
I personally think not the theory. I don't think the theory is nonsense, but I think it is nonsense because I think that as much as you want to win it higher up in the field, as soon as that first wave of your attackers gets breached, then what happens is what's been happening to us. Yeah, so exactly, I think that you either get, and someone put in the comments, and big up everybody who's watching and leaving some positive comments. Also my boy Lee who commented earlier. But I think someone mentioned the way that Liverpool do it with Henderson. So, you know, you've got Henderson, Van Eldam, and whichever other player they decide to put in next to them. And they can close because your attackers are so good at closing, but there's always one that's sitting. Whereas I just don't think that we have the players to suit that. And I felt that if, and you've got to think as well, the time that he started to do it, we were all right. I think we were third. We were third in the league. I think it was just after the Watford game, and then he just started to do it. And it was like, well, why are you changing such a knee-jerk thing that isn't? And then he just, for what was so promising last season was that he was very gung-ho, and it seemed like he was assured with the changes. Now I just think he was blagging it because of the last sort of months of his reign and seeing how he responded to it.
Yeah, I find Emery a really interesting one because, you know, at times I thought, do you know what? I wasn't thrilled with his appointment, but at times I thought, actually, do you know what? Fair enough. He does seem to know what he's doing. But it seems like he gets in his own head and he ends up doing too much. And I just think, do you know what? Just keep it simple. I think that would have suited him a lot more. But yeah, he's almost his worst enemy at times.
I think I'm a man of energies as well. And ironically, if he would have done what the changes you said for the reasons that he did, and he wasn't in his own head, he was actually in it for the team, then I think it might have actually worked off. But I felt he was trying to show how great that not great, but just trying to show that, look at me, I can change things, I can adapt.
Yeah.
And it was almost like that's an Emery masterstroke that was wanting to be said rather than this is an Arsenal team playing a certain way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I go back to the whole Wenger thing about converting Henry from a left winger. I don't think Wenger was that egotistical where, you know, he would put his own kind of like, and especially at that stage of his career, he would have just been desperate to succeed at Arsenal. But I do think some managers do things for the sake of doing things, because when it does work, if it does work, that's when you get this whole genius label when it's a masterstroke. But yeah, I do agree. I feel like Emery might have been doing that, thinking that, you know, I need to, because if he just played Torreira where, you know, Torreira should play, it's a case of, oh, well, yeah, there's no big deal. Like, you know, it was there on a plate for you the whole time. But the fact that, you know, he's trying to do something different, if it works, then you get all the plaudits. It's a high-risk strategy. It didn't pay off.
'Cause it's just loose lips. I tried